Morning, everybody. Welcome back to DX Radio Shop. Our morning net has begun. We have some interesting topics to discuss today. There we go. Get this out of the way. The camera's squared away here. Jeepers creepers. That'll be our next radio on the bench today. We'll be doing. Morning, John, Brandon. How are you guys? Alright. One email in which we've got, and we're going to answer that one first, I guess. So today's hot topic is going to be about swing kits. We've had that topic many times. It seems to be brought up all the time. That's about our everyday deal, I suppose, right? Morning, Michael. We have a Cry Bus Driver 129. Good morning. Welcome to the channel. I'm not sure if I've seen you on here before, but good morning to you. Morning, Matt, Kevin. How are you guys? So, one of the emails I have is, could you please give me some more information about swing kits and why is it important not to do it, or is it a good thing or a bad thing to do it? Well, here's the thing. So, swing kit is a glorified way of basically hacking up your radio. That's pretty much it. Okay. What this means is when you have limitations in your radio, you're limited to an amount of performance that your radio is going to do without having to be splattered or dirty. When you remove those limitations or you add on other things to increase such performance, it's going to give you a very dirty signal going out. Your modulation will be distorted, your power is going to be dissipated across your adjacent channels. So you want to be careful not to have anybody get inside your radio and hack it all up. You don't want nobody to clip your limiters, spread coils. The swing kit type thing, what they refer to as swing kits, are like your NPC mods or PPE mods, PPC mods, or PC mods. Everyone's got your own little name for them. What it comes down to basically is this. They're trying to compress your carrier to the minimum and increase more modulation. All that does is create splatter. That's it. It just creates splatter. So it's gonna make you beefy loud. They call it peak and tweak or peak and tune. No such thing as a peak and tweak or peak and tune. Okay. Just listen to those words. When someone says peak and tweak, peak means your max, right? Well, tweak means you're gonna tweak it to the max. So there's really no such thing as a peak and tweak. It's called a line and tune. And so there's procedures inside your service manual that says synthesizer PLL, which is your phase lock loop alignment procedure, or it will say transmitter alignment procedure or receiver alignment procedure. No such thing as peak and tweak, guys. Or to be checkerized, or to be what they call these. One guy has a name called, I guess it's wolfed up. That's what they call it. WOLF, like the wolf. You know, out in the woods, a wolf. ED. So it's wolfed up max. And it's just another glorified way of just, these guys are really screwing up your radios. They really are screwing up your radios. So, Brent, how are you? Good morning. Welcome back to the channel. Good to see you. So when it comes down to like driving amplifiers and this, that, and the other, whether you're going to use a linear or not, always have a clean signal coming out of your radio, because whatever's coming out is going to determine what's going to happen when it's amplified through a linear. So the other thing that's important too is remember all about your antenna. Any station you set up is 90% your antenna. If you got a good antenna, a good ground, a good SWR, very low SWR, good coax cable, everything's right there. You got to also know that your antenna does not know and it does not care what name, make, model, or brand your radio is. The antenna only wants one thing that you're going to connect, and that's a 50 ohm impedance at the termination point. Okay? What that means is whatever radio that you put on, just make sure you got the right impedance. You got to make sure that your coax is going to be the correct impedance. So let's say you got a 1.1 at the antenna, then you can put your coax on, and you got like a 1.5. Well, you got to recalculate the length of coax to match that the same impedance that you've got to your antenna. As far as your radio goes, you put on any radio that you want. As long as you got the coax and the antenna all matched up, put on any radio that you want, and it's going to perform. So it's 90% is your antenna. That's what you got to watch out for. A lot of these guys want to drive 18 pill, 32 pill. I don't understand that. You can only talk as far as you can hear. If you want everybody to hear you across the world, well then get yourself a involved with NASA or whatever, and jump in a shuttle and go out in space and talk back down to Earth. Now you can talk all across the world as much as you want with their gear, but I wouldn't go out and spend money on all that nonsense because you're not going to gain anything out of it. And your first 100 watts is what really means something. Theoretically, your first 20 watts actually means a lot more than your 100 watts does. If you guys ever try running QRP, you should try it. You should really try it, okay? What that means is QRP is anything less than 25 watts, okay? Typically 5 to 10 watt, 15 watt, okay? So I have ran QRP many times, and I tell you what, I use a telescopic whip antenna, 17 foot tall, sticking in a mirror mount bracket with a 12-inch galvanized stake, throw it out there in the ground, run 25 feet of coax to my little ICOM 705, or else I'll run my Yaesu 991A and turn the power up or down, whichever, off that 100 watt radio. Either way, but from 10 watt to 100 watt, I can talk all over the world on a telescopic whip antenna. Stick it out in the ground, and away we go. And the best part about those telescopic antennas are, if you fully extend them, they are already resonant to your 20 meter band. So you don't have to really do nothing as far as SWR tuners, this, that, and the other. If you got a tuner inside a radio, you can kind of maintain it and bring it back down. Typically it runs you about a 1.3 to about a 1.7. So maybe a little tuner might help to kind of, substantiate that right down to flat, kind of give it a little help. But otherwise, they're pretty well resonant to the 20 meter band. So that's what's nice about it for sure. Hello, Leadfoot. How are you? Hello, Steve. How are you? Michael says, turn a tracker. Yeah. Yeah, they always trucker your radios up and stuff. And what they do is they change out regulators, they change out the finals, they change out, or they remove limiters, they add your NPC swing kit mods, spread coils, pretty much everything that they should not do, they do. And that jeopardizes the radio. All they care about is your wallet, and that's not what they should be doing. I have removed so many mods, it's insane. Just to bring the radios back to life, make them work the way they should. Matt's got a question. Is there a way to measure your impedance on your antenna without a analyzer? Well, sure. Well, if you got an oscilloscope, you can do it with an oscilloscope. You can take and measure your impedance at the output of your system, your radio system. You can do it that way. You can do they got a few different ways. You can use an analyzer, oscilloscope, or you can even actually create like a little circuit device to do exactly the same too. If you have like a little vanometer, you can do it that way. I'm trying to think of other ways you could probably do it. Hello, Ace. How are you? I tell you, if there is a guy I used to watch on YouTube, um, he's pretty smart at what he does. If you guys want to check him out to know more about the impedances and whatnot, different ways you can utilize this with whatever you got for means at your hands. If you don't have the oscilloscope, or you don't have the analyzer, or if you don't have a spectrum analyzer, on top of that, analyzer meaning an SWR antenna analyzer or a spectrum analyzer or an oscilloscope, you can check out this guy. He goes by, let me think here. I gotta look him up fast. Hold on a second. Electronics for the Inquisitive. And he's pretty good. He knows his stuff, so. I mean, they've got formulas you can calculate out as well with that. So, see if I can share a link for you guys. Trying to find the video link for you, but oh well. Anyway, so So pretty much in a nutshell, I get it to stay. Hopefully it stays. That's pretty much your basic formula for the impedance. Now, if you want one for your capacitance, etc., there's a lot to this, really. So, and then there's another formula. Z equals R2 plus, in quotations. Pay attention to those quotations where this one does not have. There's a difference for this, okay? Because now you're going to get into inductance and capacitive. So you've got to pay attention to this equation with the parentheses. That means something, okay? XL minus XC to the second power. So just different ways you can calculate your impedance as well. Your capacitance, your inductance. So if you're building tuners, if you're looking to build amplifiers, whatever, these formulas are very important for all the above. So, and we'll get more involved with that in another time. I'm not fully awake right here to be sitting doing numbers. Today's topic was more or less about swing kits. I'm very familiar on what people are doing with those, and they eliminate all kinds of good stuff, and they create more bad stuff, and cost customers money, and which in my way I see as consumer fraud, but some people don't see it that way. They're dumb enough to spend the $40-50 to get someone to go inside and hack up your radio, I suppose. And if you want just a general number or a formula, we can simplify that. It would be R plus LS plus 1CS. So you can kind of check out your resistance, your inductance, and your capacitive circuits with those. So, but again, this is for another topic. We're not getting into those topics today because I'm not fully awake to be sitting here doing numbers. So we're not doing that just yet on this morning ride show. Hello, Alan. How are you? Yeah, there's a lot of math in electronics. Everywhere you go, it's math. Yes, I did. I had one on the bench the other day. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. In fact, I'm working on one. It was so bad, I brought it back to life. It was a brand new radio, too. The guy paid all this money to get it all super tuned and everything else. And the sad part was, he, the high carrier was at 100 watt. The low carrier was at 100 watt. The AM regulator was no good. truck up for a minute. My daughter to school here shortly. Anyway, yeah, so last night I spent well over an hour on a radio that was all hacked up. Brand new radio. They got the whole thing with swing kit. They took R238 out, put a diode in place of that. They took the resistor, which is a 5.6K from R238, and they put it onto a separate 2-solder pad and fed that down to where your mic amplifier chip would be, which is a dual op amp. And all this thing was all jeopardized. So when you key it up, it had a 100-watt dead key. You couldn't change the high and the low. So when you go to check your internal adjustments, they weren't able to be adjusted. Just the high, well, the high couldn't even be adjusted, only maybe like a watt or two. So we found that the pass-through regulator, they put a 827 in place of a 754 regulator, and so we had to replace that. Found it to be a problem. It was no good. So we took it out, replaced it with a brand new regulator. Now I got my high and my low. I can set it from 2 watt to 8 or 10 watt, and now that part's good. I can clean up the high side modulation, but now the low side, there's no modulation. So I got to go back through and find out what is stopping the low modulation from passing through. But if you're on high, 8 or 10 watt carrier, you can modulate. So, and it's very distorted. It's cleaned up to a certain point, but it's fuzzy, which means there's still some distortion. So I have to still figure that one out to see what is causing this to fail. Now, remember, it was a brand new radio. Had they just left it alone, there wouldn't be all of this cause and effect with this radio. Right now, I got to try to figure out what happened, what changed from the time that they put all these trucker mods in to the point in which where the radio will not allow to have any audio pass through on low power side. It will only work on the high power side. So we got to look at that now and find out what's going on with it, because it's a wreck, that's for sure. It's a train wreck. And we did find several back capacitors as well. In fact, right here is the bag of parts from the other radio. Not this radio, but from a different radio. Here's the bag of parts. And I'll show you on this one here. And these two guys are right there. Those are your pass-through regulator. This is off of General Lee, by the way. HP40. So right there, guys. What does it say? Turn it back on. Short circuit on red and blue. That's these first two pins. Short circuit. That's what caused the carrier to go so high, because they put the MPC mod onto it. They put that in the back of the radio, their little diode and chip capacitor they put in the back of the radio, causing this to short. For that reason, it led to a very high carrier of the radio. So any radio that takes these regulators, if you have a radio you cannot adjust and it's showing you full output power and you can't adjust it, you're going to have a shorted regulator. Now I don't know if this one's any good or not, because I took that one out, because usually when you replace him, you replace this one as well. So let's take a look at him and see if it's any good or not. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to throw it away anyhow. Yeah. So the gain on this is 210 HFE, so it's actually increased, causing this to be more open. So yeah, so that's not a good regulator as well. These are the 1869s, these are 2SA, and these are 2SB 754. So kind of give you an idea. That's what we had found last night with the radio. But we're still working on it. Took a break from it for a little bit because trying to find out what's stopping the low modulation from passing through. If you're on high, you can get modulation to pass through. It's just the low. And I can change my high carrier level all the way down 2 watt. And not even worry about the low side and still do it. Now if you open the limiter, the low modulation passes through. But as long as the radio's all put back, then it will not pass through modulation on the low side. Even if you increase the low side, keep the high, like say around 15, 20, and then increase your low to about 5, nothing. So somewhere, something got affected, and something, it took out another component. I just haven't been able to find it yet. And well, I said we spent some time on that this morning or not this morning, I'm sorry, last night to see what the deal is with it, but we weren't able to finish it up last night. So we'll do that at a later point. Today we're going to work on this here 2950 for Mr. Kevin. Get this thing up and running out of the way for him. Yeah, I remember that striker. Yeah. So that's pretty much the hot topic today, guys, is the why it's important not, can't emphasize that enough, to put swing kits in. Stay away from them. Don't let nobody tell you different. You're only going to cause problems for yourself. Let me know what your thoughts are. Drop them down in the comments below. And if anybody has any radios that do have those in, or you're not sure what they've got going on, you can always contact me, dxradioshop@yahoo.com, and I'll gladly walk you through, and you can take off the radio cover of your own unit, and I'll tell you right where to look. You can take pictures and send them to me as well, and I'll tell you what they are. I'll circle those in the pictures and send the picture back to you, so you can see exactly what's happening with your radio, etc. So yeah, watch out, guys. There's a lot of hack shops that just don't understand. They don't read the books. All they do is watch what people do online. They watch videos and they see more power. That's it. And like your coils, when they spread coils, they change. Those are called traps, and they change the inductive value of those, which they're designed to absorb a 27 megahertz signal and control it your TVI, so when your 27 passes through, that's what you're going to have coming out the jack. And it's going to be controlled onto the channel you're operating on, not have be like I'm on 21 and my signal all of a sudden someone's hearing me on 2-3 channels above or below. Now if you're right next door to some of these Yahoo wannabe shops, say, well, if you're sitting up beside me or a couple trucks down, you got to be smart. Don't be stupid. Okay, people who make comments like that are pretty stupid. They don't have any knowledge. They really don't. They're just a fly-by-night wannabe tech. Okay, we're talking people who are, you know, a couple miles away or a few miles away. You should not be bleeding over 3-4 channels. If you're like the next town over and you're bleeding 3-4 channels, you know, you should not be bleeding over that many channels. It just means your radio is sloppy. It's very splattery. It doesn't have anything to control your signals to be clean. So never spread coils, and do not put swing kits in radios. Remember, guys, engineers are smarter than we are. If they wanted that to be done and get more out of it, they would have already done it. Remember that. Okay, you guys got to remember that, because you know, you're not going to go out and buy a brand new car, take half the engine apart and pull some of the wires and stuff because, well, hell, I'm going to do it like this. You're not going to want to take a spark plug out and say, well, this guy says if I use this type of brand, well, I get a whole lot better fuel mileage and I get better spark, man. I get all kinds of stuff going on with this. you got to read the specs. You got to see what you've got, and you got to do it from there. You cannot just change things out because, you know, little Joey down the street says, well, little Bobby says this, and little Henry says that. No, guys, come on. You got to do your research. You got to be smart. Don't let these wannabe techs dumb down you. Don't do that, okay? If you've got any questions, ask. Please ask. I'm here to answer your questions. You don't have to pay me anything. I don't charge for my knowledge. It's free knowledge, guys. Take advantage of that. People always say, don't take advantage of another person. Well, in this case, I encourage you. Take advantage of my knowledge, guys, and many other great techs across the world. I'm not the only one. Shit. I'm like probably stuck at the bottom of the totem pole on some of these guys who are way better than I am, but I've been in this for 39 years. And a lot of guys I know have been into it well over 50 plus years. And I'm telling you, just do your research, guys, and you're going to find out the grass is not greener on the other side when you start hacking and jacking and you start swinging and you know, all this stuff you put inside your radio. You're just asking for trouble. That's all you're doing. Hey, Sam, how are you? I haven't seen you around. He refuses to put him on a spectrum analyzer? I know who you're talking about, too. I think I know who you're talking about. Yeah. I think I know. That wouldn't be I-44, would it? Is it I-44? Is he down that way? I think he's. Yeah, I think that's I-44, is it not? Yeah, these guys, a lot of them will not show you a spectrum analyzer. They won't show you the outcome, and when they do, they don't show you the radio at the same time, which means you can't see if they're touching the knobs and controls. They got it all pre-planned and meditated, where it's you know, I'm going to take and I know where I can set my controls to manipulate the whole thing and say, see, it looks great, man. Yeah. That's why here, when you see my cameras, you see my cameras all over the place on every part of the radio, so you'll see exactly what's happening. We don't do that stuff here. We don't manipulate. I know a guy in New Hampshire manipulates, I-44 manipulates. I mean, there's probably close to 20 plus shots I can read off right now that I know for a fact in the last 39 years. So, they do that kind of garbage. We don't do it here. Anyway, guys, thank you for stopping by for our morning RadTuneNet, and we'll see what our hot topic will be tomorrow as we get more and more emails. But we have several emails and several questions about the whole swing thing because they see it every day, and they always wonder what the difference is. They can see it here when we remove it, and we show you what the radio does before we touch it, after we have to remove all the mods, and then what it looks like when we're finished product, how clean it is. So a lot of guys see that and they understand, but they have more questions as to other aspects, as to why can't you make a swing kit work and make it look clean. No, you cannot. So no, you cannot. Oh, that Super G is going to look nice when we're done. So we've been working on him too. I've been working on Ethan's GE and yours as well. So hopefully here pretty quick we'll have Ethan's is just about done. Only a couple minor things I got to finish up on, and yours will be. I got to do a little bit more with yours, but hopefully we'll get that done here soon too. So everything's looking somewhat pretty good with those. So I'm looking forward to having some nice videos of those radios as well. All right, guys, have a great day. We'll catch you soon here at the DX Radio Shop. I'll be back on here shortly, and we'll work on this RCI 2950 next. See you soon.